Good morning to you all. Yes, I think we have studied different things, different type of plant types in the last class of this plant kingdom. And I think you are so much, very familiar to those groups. So I think it's very similar to say something about the life cycles of this plant and alteration of their generations. And I think that you have already get something about the different type of plant kinds that we have and their examples and their pictures also. We have depicted some pictures of those plant types also. If I think you get more things about those plant kingdoms or plant life cycles and alteration of generations, this section. And so it's very familiar to say something about the same thing, isn't it? So in the last class we have said something about the plant cycle, like about the sporophytic generation, about the meiosis, mitosis that takes place in plants, all those things in the last class, isn't it? So it is what we say, it is not that much distant, or that is not much distant from the portion that we have. Okay, so it's very relative to us. So it is very regardless, it is very it is very common in plants that life cycle is taking place. In case of us also there is life cycle, in case of plants also there is life cycle. So the plant life cycle and alteration of generations are important to study. Okay, because there is two types of plants will be the haploid and diploid cells will be the mitosis, and meiosis will take place for the division of those plants. So these all are important when we are saying about something that is seen around us. So in this class we are going to study about the plant life cycles and alteration of generations. And so I think we have started it already in the last class, and in your textbook it's page number 42. Okay, page number 42. So till this we will complete the chapter on the plant life cycles and alteration of generations. Okay, so this is the last section we have. So this is we have so that 42 through 43 is the section we are going to study today. Okay, 42 43, that is plant life cycle and alteration of generation. Yes, when we are saying about it here, it is very heavy wind and raining is going on, so there is a chance of electrical interruption in between this. So if any interruption causes, I'm very sorry for that. It is because of this heavy natural condition. Okay, so you don't worry, we will conclude this chapter anyways. Okay, so in plants we want to say that we will say that the both haploid and diploid cells are divided by mitosis, isn't it? So haploid and diploid cells will divide using the mitosis. Okay, the haploid and diploid cells will divide using the mitosis. So this ability to leads to the formation of different plant bodies. Okay, this ability will leads to the formation of formation of different plant bodies. Okay, it will help in the formation of different plant bodies. It may be haploid or diploid. It may be haploid or diploid. Okay. Diploid or haploid. diploid or diploid. So it is this plant body will represent a gametophyte. Okay, so the plant body will represent a gametophyte. We already said about this, isn't it? So it will say about the gametophyte. Following fertilization, the zygote divides by mitosis to produce a diploid sporophytic plant body. Okay, so fertilization will happen. Following fertilization, what will happen? It will get into zygote, and the zygote will divide to form what? Sporophytic plant body. Okay, produce a diploid sporophytic plant body. Okay, sporophytic plant body. Okay, so after that, what will happen? Haploid spores are produced by this plant by meiosis. From this haploid plant bodies are made by meiosis. Okay, it is made by meiosis. So this in turn will be divided by mitosis. Okay, this will again undergo mitosis to form what? Diploid, to form a haploid plant again. Okay, to form a haploid plant again. Haploid plant. Okay, so thus there is an alteration of generation between gamete producing. Okay, so that's having this alteration of generation between whom gamete producing haploid gametophyte and spore producing diploid sporophyte. Okay, so what we all have said that in plants both haploid and diploid cells can divide by mitosis. This ability will lead to formation of different plant bodies. That means haploid or diploid. Okay, so the haploid plant body produces gametes by mitosis. So this plant body represents a gametophyte. Okay, and this gametophyte, that using the haploid, will form the gametophyte. So the thing is here, isn't it? So following fertilization, zygote also divides by mitosis to produce a diploid sporophytic plant body. And after that, the haploid spores are produced by the plant body by meiosis. These in turn divide by mitosis to form a haploid plant body once again. So thus, during the life cycle of any sexually reproducing plant, there is an alteration of generation between gamete producing haploid gametophyte and spore producing diploid sporophyte. That's all that is said. Okay, so you can write, and after all we will get into the different plant groups as specific individuals representing, which are different individuals is representing different patterns. Okay, so we will study about it. I think we have already studied about that. If anyone who didn't write the notes, you can write it now. After all, we will get to the next section. Okay, so if you have already written the notes, you can read your textbook, so you will get the more things about it. Okay. Yes. Okay, so I can repeat, isn't it? So we have solved it already in the last class, so I think this will be easy to hear this one. So the next one is in case of sporophytic generation. Okay, case of sporophytic. Okay, so in case of sporophyte generation, yes, in case of sporophyte generation, we want to say that it is represented only by the one cell zygote. Okay, one cell zygote. Okay, one cell zygote. Okay, it is represented by one cell zygote. Okay, so there are no free living sporophytes. Okay, no free living sporophytes. In this case, there is no free living sporophytes. Okay, so meiosis in the zygotes is the formation of. Okay, so here the meiosis is taking place. Okay, which will help in the formation of zygote with diploid or haploid. Haploid. Okay, haploid spores. Helps in the formation of haploid spores. Okay, so this haploid spores will undergo mitosis to form gametophyte. Okay, so this haploid spores will undergo mitosis to form gametophyte. So the dominant photosynthetic phase, in this case the dominant photosynthetic phase is, which one is free living gametophyte. Free living gametophyte. Okay, so this type of life cycle is known as haplontic. Okay, haplontic. Okay, so this type of life cycle is known as haplontic, and many algae such as Volvox spirogyra, okay, Volvox spirogyra, okay, and some species of Chlamydomonas. Okay, this will represent this type of cycle, that is sporophytic generation. So what we said about the sporophytic generation is what we have said about the sporophytic generation. Yes, the sporophytic generation is represented only by the one cell zygote. Okay, represented only by the one cell zygote, and there are no free living sporophytes. Okay, so meiosis is the main thing that are happening. So when the meiosis will take place, what will happen? The zygote results in the formation of haploid spores. So here it is taking place the meiosis in between this. Okay, so the zygote will undergo meiosis to form haploid spores. Okay, and the haploid spores will divide mitotically and form the gametophyte. Okay, and after that what will happen? And after that there will be no dominant photosynthetic phase. Okay, there will be dominant photosynthetic phase. In such plants, the free living gametophyte will be there. So this kind of life cycle is known as haplontic. Okay, and this kind of life cycle can be seen in Spirogyra or Volvox, that type of algae, and also seen in some species of Chlamydomonas. Okay, so this Volvox, Spirogyra, Chlamydomonas is the main partners which will show sporophytic generation. Okay, so you can write this, and after that we will get into the next section. Okay, so the next one is the other extreme level of the resource analysis. Okay, so the other extreme words it's type 1, the deployed independent phase of plant. Okay, deployed independent phase of plant. So just before that we have said about deployed dependent phase of plant. Isn't it? This is independent. Yes, independent phase of the plant. Okay, sporophyte is the dominant. So the gametophytic phase. This is the gametophytic phase. Before we have said sporophytic phase, this is gametophytic phase. Okay, gametophytic phase, in which what will happen is represented by the single to few celled. Okay. What? Single to few celled haploid gametophyte. Okay, so this is we have seen in this. So this kind of life cycle is termed as diplontic. What is diplontic? That is haplontic. It's haploid cells. So this is diplontic. Okay, so an alga, that is fucus species. Okay, fucus species, and it will represent this pattern. So in addition, all seed bearing this pattern with some variations, wherein the gametophytic phase is few to multicell. Yes, in this we say that it is few to multicell. Is it few to multicell? Okay, this variation can be okay, few to multicell. Okay, and the next one is in case of bryophytes and pteridophytes. Okay. Pteridophytes. Pteridophytes, what will happen? Interest will exhibit an intermediate condition. It will have intermediate condition of gametophytic phase and the sporophytic phase, that is diplontic and haplodic, that is haplodiplontic. Okay, intermediate. Haplodiplontic. Okay, haplodiplontic. And both phases are multicellular. In this case, both phases are multicellular. Both phases are multicellular. However, they differ in their dominant phase. Okay, they are different in their dominant phase. Okay, so what we have said about this, on the other extreme, what is saying, this is the type where the diploid sporophyte is dominant. Photosynthetic independent phase of the plant. So the gametophytic phase is represented by the single to few celled haploid gametophyte. Okay, and this kind of life cycle is termed as the diplontic, isn't it? And after an algae, that is fucus species, represents what this type of pattern. Okay, with some variations. Okay, so in the case of gymnosperms, in addition to all seed-bearing plants like gymnosperms and angiosperms, follow this pattern with some variations, wherein the gametophyte phase is few to multi-celled. That variation. Then we are seeing the bryophytes and pteridophytes. There is what we say, it exhibit an intermediate condition of this both, that is haplodiplontic. Both phases are multicellular. Okay, and in case of them, that in the dominant phases they will define each other. Okay, so I think you have understood what I have said, so you can write it, and after all that we will get into the next section. Okay. Okay, so we are getting to the next section, that is, yes, we are at the ending point of this chapter. Okay. Okay. So we have said about more things in this chapter. So next we are going to say something as a conclusion we're going to say. So as we say that a dominant, independent, photosynthetic thyroid or erratic phase is represented by a haploid gametophyte, and it alternates with the short-term lived multicellular sporophyte, totally or partially dependent on the gametophyte for its anchorage and nutrition. So all brachyphytes represent this pattern. So the diploid sporophyte is represented by dominant, independent, photosynthetic vascular plant body. It alternates with multicellular saprophytic or autotrophic and independent but short-lived haploid gametophyte. Such a pattern is known as the haplodiploidic life cycle. So all pteridophytes will exhibit this pattern, and interestingly, while most algal genera are haplodic and some of them such as Ectocarpus, Polysiphonia, Calps and are haplodiploid. Okay, so and Fucosa and Alga is diploidic. Okay, so this is all about the chapter. So as we said about that, it is finished this chapter. We will get into the revision of this chapter on the next day. So thank you for listening. Stay home, stay safe.